Venice goes towards the closed number from 2022. 5 years ago, the Amatrice earthquake, only 6% was revoked. Green pass discrimination. Those who have it do not eat outside. School transport remains the mystery. Welcome to the Italy Today's Newscast. Venice goes towards the closed number from 2022 with turnstiles, reservations, and QR code for tourists. Public exhibitors are divided, and it is political scuffle. Our news report.
The Venice Council has revived what had remained unimplemented since the access contribution, which now belongs to the first term of the mayor, setting the deadline for final implementation in December 2022. For the Shops Association, it's a heresy. For the Hoteliers Association, it is essential to limit commuter tourism. Venice, a city of tourism that has become monoculture, seems to be one step away from putting into practice what it had decided 3 years ago, that is, putting a block on visitors' access. A move that seems to go in the opposite direction with respect to the fast tourism, which it would like to put a stop to, but which actually helps to confirm the characteristics of the mass attraction circus. The Municipal Council has put in place the project to plan tourist flows. It had already done so in 2018, but without reaching anything, apart from some experiments. In this case, the COVID health crisis plays a perfect alibi to justify the delays and re-propose the initiative, which should be implemented from the summer of 2022. Thus, as at the stadium or in a shopping center, the turnstiles will count the numbers of the entrances, preventing them from those who do not have a reservation. A kind of tourist green pass that for the moment has had the effect of dividing the city into opposing factions. Luigi Brugnaro's council is determined, and it would like install the electronic gates at the exit of the Santa Lucia railway station. The goal is to limit arrivals only to those who have the booking in their pocket, in the form of a QR code, digital or printed. The technical details are not yet defined, but the booking will probably take place using the same digital platform that was designed for the payment of the access fee, namely the tourist ticket, as a contribution to the city management costs magnified by tourist flows. The project therefore remains to charge the ticket to enter Venice, with a series of categories that are exempt from doing so, in particular those who live there and those who go there daily for work. Among the opponents is the Venice Association of Public Operators. Director Ernesto Pensin said, "I can understand that the Marciana area becomes restricted access, but if that is indeed a sensitive place, the turnstile is a heresy. Visitors must be able to decide at any time to reach Venice and be able to move freely without barriers to discourage them. Better than turnstiles, then, forms of discouragement of improvised arrivals." Claudio Vernier, president of the San Marco Association, "The idea of booking on certain days is certainly the solution that had to be found, but that of the turnstiles is not the most suitable formula. They are a physical cage to be avoided." However, many agree to book the visit. Gianni De Cecchi, director of Confartigianato Venezia, "The large numbers do not favor the precious handicraft productions, but relegate the city to an enclosure of people. Yes, to a smaller number of arrivals, as long as they are supported by a strong commitment to residential accommodations." Claudio Scarpa, director of the Venetian Hoteliers Association said, "It is essential to limit commuter tourism, which accounts for 70% of visitors in the city, contributing only 30% to turnover." Of course, the political tussle was unleashed. The theme of tourist flows is also one of the topics for the attention of UNESCO, which a month ago decided not to include Venice in the black list of sites of humanity at risk.
5 years ago, the earthquake hit Amatrice and the 4 regions in central Italy, but the rebuilding of the city symbol of the disaster is far to be completed. In the areas affected by the 2016 earthquake, which on 24th of August, 26 and 30 October, shook the earth in 4 regions, Abruzzo, Lazio, Marche, and Umbria, causing the death of almost 300 people, the reconstruction, despite a slight acceleration in the last period, it is still difficult to leave. Thus, in addition to the resignation shared by many of the remaining inhabitants, the risk of depopulation is now also frightening. Between those who have decided to change their lives and those who, with the draw from CAS, a contribution of autonomous accommodation, have moved to the coast, there are a few courageous resilience projects that started from below to bring these areas to life. Like the one carried out by Stefano Capelli, who had a bakery in Arquata del Tronto, and by his partner Elena Pasqualini, who instead moved to this area after the earthquake. We decided to set up an association, Monte Vector, explains Stefano, to help all our fellow villagers who have decided to stay here in Arquata. The goal is to bring slow tourism to the area, made up of rediscovering the Apennine hinterland and discovering local products. But not only. Now we have also had the idea of inclusive tourism for everyone, explains Stefano, and so we have created a yurt, which will be ready for next year, to be able to also include disabled children who cannot access the shelter. In this territory now nothing remains, so the only possibility to do something is on slow tourism, concludes Stefano, made up of people who come with the awareness of where they are and where they are going, also giving a contribution to those who are remained. Even the Fattoria La Rocca in Monfertino, together with the Cipollana project, which aims to restore value to the yarn of the surviving sheep, avoiding its extinction, with its short distribution chain, its educational activities, and its small woolen mill, gives hinterland a glimmer of hope. The project, started by the breeders Giulia Alberti and Silvia Bonomi, despite little institutional help, took off in 2021. Now between companies and people who collaborates, we are more than 30 people, explains Giulia. To help those who remain, with a psychosocial support initiative, is the Italian Red Cross. The Proximity Paths project is active in all 4 affected regions and for 2 years, continuing a path already traced with a previous project, has been assisting the population with a house-by-house help service. And with group activities. I think it was important to have accompanied the earthquake victims to the hotel, explains Giulia Dionisi, psychologist of the Red Cross, helping them to adapt to this new very painful housing situation. And accompany them now towards reconstruction. The prevailing sentiment in the community is above all anger. But also feeling abandoned and left alone, even more so after COVID-19, concludes Dionisi.
Chefs' opinions on the new controversy about the Green Pass have been collected on the newspapers in Italy. Only who has the Green Pass can have stable indoor, while who doesn't has to book a table outside.
Many restaurants have thus decided not to give tables outside for holders of the certificate of COVID imposed by the Draghi government, in order to have more customers, and recover the money lost during the lockdowns. The famous chef Visani is controversial about the Green Pass, and disapproves the rules imposed by the government. In fact, it has happened that in various parts of Italy the exhibition of the certification that gives the right to access indoors has turned into a kind of brand, that instead of favoring the access, penalizes those who want to go out for lunch or dinner. And outside, literally, he would like to eat, with a beautiful view in front of him or even in an outdoor area on the sidewalk. Instead, he is forced to eat his meal inside the restaurant. To give way to those who do not have the Green Pass and therefore must remain outside. An option that from a restriction has almost turned into a privilege. But the penalized customers don't fit in, you can't be discriminated against like this, they say. And they point the finger at the owners who are just trying to make cash. But the restaurateurs must be understood, Visani said. The government is angry with our sector, with all these rules that penalized the industry. Anyway, in September they will close us again, it is certain. For this reason, even if I do not say they have done well, because they made a mistake, I understand the restaurateurs who let those who have the Green Pass eat inside and those who don't have it outside. To try to recover some cover. But the famous Italian chef Uliassi disagrees this policy and declare, with us always with the green card, to eat both inside and out. In the capital, the chef of the Carbonara, Luciano Monosilio says, if the customers book for a table outside and have the Green Pass it makes no difference, they will eat where they chose. They must be respected, otherwise they will not come back. But he has large spaces inside and a large outdoor area in front of the entrance, in a delightful square that he himself contributed to enhance and make it pedestrian. Who does not justify what has been defined as return apartheid is also the chef Paolo Griffa of the Michelin-starred restaurant Petit Royal in the Grand Hotel Royal in Courmayeur. It is inconceivable, a discrimination that makes no sense. Same opinion for the Piedmontese chef Maurilio Garola, you must always respect the rules, and always the entire clientele. An alternative solution that can overcome the question is the one proposed by Leonardo Peris, the home chef who has reinvented himself by bringing his culinary creativity directly to the home of those who want to enjoy a dinner comfortably, without having to submit to any rules of the inside or outside. With all these problems in public contexts, the private world is benefiting from various aspects, especially that of the personal chef service, explains Peris. My work is experiencing an important moment of growth. In a villa or in homes no green pass is needed, although in my services I am very scrupulous in asking if my clients are vaccinated, or at least with a recent negative swab. I myself have vaccinated myself to safeguard my health and that of my clients. Compliance with the rules is always the best solution.
A few weeks to the school reopening, it starts a race against time to be able to guarantee safety in the movements of pupils and teachers. Local transport worries principals and prof.
A few weeks to school reopening, the transport issue is worrying principals and trade unions. To make up for lost time, all the subjects who by the beginning of September will have to start the operating machine, that will allow students and teachers to return to class safely, are pressing the accelerator. The regions, the prefects, the local public transport companies, are at work and trying to rush the times in a complicated situation. For the unions, once again, the problems will occur above all in the south and in the metropolitan cities. The transition to 100% classroom attendance with 80% capacity on public transport worries school leaders, who no longer want to know about staggering. A request, the latter, which cannot be granted because most of the prefects are asking the regional school offices to proceed to diversify the admissions. The starting point is not the simplest, 2 weights and 2 measures. If at school the staff must have the green pass as well as in the universities, on local transport, free access has been chosen. Faced with the lack of ability to implement widespread controls on local public transport, the government gave up and preferred, listening to the indications of the Scientific Technical Committee, to confirm a capacity of 80% even in the yellow area. For the next month, Trenord Railways is ready to maximize its services in Lombardy but will be able to do with what it has. The strategy put in place is to remove some service in the non-peak hours to be able to add trains during peak hours. The situation of the subways is different. Here the companies do not seem to have particular tools to resolve any overcrowding. ATAC in Rome hopes that the staggered entry and exit times from schools will return, in order to lighten the presence on the wagons. In Milan, Daniele Barbuon, president of the metro company, denounces a paradox. It is true that the government has allocated extraordinary resources for upgrades to ensure children go to school, but ours agency are taken away millions of euros on the basis of regional criteria that put us in a position to have fewer resources for ordinary management. As a consequence, I have to remove vehicles at certain times, damaging some work sectors. Also, to stay in the capital of Lombardy, Marco Granelli, the Councillor for Mobility and Public Works at the prefectural table, has already presented his restart plan, which follows the model implemented last year, upgrading the lines with the highest flow of users with 200 more buses. Those who will have to bring the measures taken into reality and observe the progress of the situation are the school managers. The first to ask for the staggering to be cancelled is the president of the National Association of Principals, Antonello Gianellia, who said, "We will have to analyze the situation province by province." According to Minister Enrico Giovannini, there will be no problems. In the meantime, they asked us to come back to let high school kids in at different times, unfortunately. A situation on which even the trade unions raise questions. The toughest is Pino Turi of Yulskula, who said, "All these promises made about transport will melt like snow in the sun. The problem of the percentage on buses or on the subway must be certified by someone. These are all operations carried out behind the desk without calculating the need for staff to control the number of those who board buses or trains."
That's it for today. Thanks for joining us. We invite you to subscribe to the Facebook page and follow us again.